I'm gonna set my dinner aside because no one wants like the mukbang audio of me chewing my dinner. I apologize.
You're like, well, that's a good idea. I have a thought on that. Let me swallow.
Nom, 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 nom.
Hail them.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Hailing frequencies. Open.
I don't know why I keep giving alien street food a chance. It's always such a gamble.
Captain, we're being hailed.
On screen.
Hello and welcome to another Hailing Frequencies Open podcast where we continue to trek through the past and future of Star Trek. I'm your host, Mike Jones, and this week we have the one and only Damien in the virtual studio. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. If you're seeing me in a little bit of apocalyptic lighting as the forest fires from Canada are blowing down our way. It feels very weird.
You know,
Maybe the end of days.
We have a trip to Canada planned in like a month. So let's hope it's all over by then. Okay, listeners, are you ready for this? We have big news. Our good friend and frequent guest, she's been on like 3 times, frequent guest of the podcast, has been drafted into being a full-fledged member of Starfleet and a co-host, Lenita.
We need the, what is the boatswain whistle?
Yeah, the like, wee.
Exactly. I have made it. I could not be happier to join this crew as we transport ourselves here and beyond in the world of Star Trek. I'm so happy.
Yay! As we transport ourselves out of reality and into a better world.
Ooh, yeah, because it's burning over here in Jersey too.
Right. Oy. I would say it's burning in Florida, but that's just because it's freaking hot. Like we don't have the wildfires. Although hurricane season just started and there was a tropical storm on the first day of hurricane season. So we're already into the alphabet.
Oh no.
How far into it? We're just at A
actually,
now?
I think just A, I think.
Okay.
But
where did they start? Man or woman? Because I know they alternate.
Oh, that's
as
a
well.
good question. I don't remember. I'll have to look it up as we talk.
Well, you know that we purvey all kinds of misinformation here, so it doesn't have to be the
That's
right answer.
true.
It just has to be an answer.
Right. I just looked it up. The first one is Arlene.
Arlene? That's
Arlene.
Arlene.
Yeah.
You know, I had my mind is racing with all these ideas of what an Arlene is, like a diner waitress to me. You know,
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to say it with that Southern accent.
Yes.
It's like Darlene. Okay, we have totally derailed from our topic
already.
No
topic yet.
No topic. So what we're doing today is okay. First of all, I have to explain this because when you said it to Damien, he was like, "What is that?" And then I said it to Tim, and he was like, "What is that?" We're talking about shipping.
Side note: Damien and Tim are old.
No, I can't hear you, Lenita.
You can't hear Lenita.
Oh, you're muted. Oh,
First day on the crew. She's just talking up a storm. There she
know.
goes. All right, there.
Yeah, that's because the plus one tried to save me from myself.
Oh.
But of course, I don't know what I'm doing. Listen.
He gave
this
you
is what yeah,
headphones.
He gave me things that I'm supposed to select, and now he's in the corner telling me all the things I should do. I love you so much. You're the best.
Okay, so
Okay,
Lenita,
so,
did you
yes.
know what shipping is?
I was like, where are we going? We're FedExing something somewhere? What's going on? That's part of my daily job.
Well, it's funny. I guess I heard the term on another Star Trek podcast a while back. It was this Voyager podcast called To the Journey, and they often talked about the like, well, I don't want to say a pairing because it might come up later, but the, you know, like so and so shippers, meaning fans imagine them in a relationship. So I looked this up, and according to Wikipedia, so it has to be true, Shipping derives from the word relationship, is the desire of a fandom for two or more people, either real life or fictional, to be in a romantic or sexual relationship. And the term goes back to the 90s with early X-Files fans who felt that Mulder and Scully should be in a relationship, and they called themselves shippers. And so according to the Oxford English Dictionary, it dates back to 1996 and was first used on the Usenet group alt.tv.xfiles.
Fun fact, I've just restarted watching the X-Files because
Oh, really?
That is what myself and my best friend, I'm going to name drop, Melissa Martin and Zanul, would watch would watch in high school, and it would come on Sunday nights and it would be like, don't call me, don't talk to me. 8 o'clock, X-Files is coming on. We check in. Back when there were no cell phones and you would have to call a house phone, landline. Oh my God. Yeah. I never wanted Mulder and Scully to be together.
No, I was going to say that actually the idea kind of offends me a little bit, that they, that a man and a woman can't have like a more complicated relationship than just going into romance. But
exactly. They had a great platonic working friendship. Like they're sort of diametrically opposed, but not really. Like she didn't believe, but then it all comes back around. I mean, it was great. Anyway, so yes, it's really interesting to rewatch things from the early 90s. I mean, it kind of even the early 60s, but like the early 90s, like, oh, you were getting there in the CGI and the in the whole, stretching through a window, watching somebody's hands get longer. High def doesn't do them any good.
Very nice. Yeah, some Voyager episodes don't age very well because of the CGI they were doing at the time. Well, enjoy that journey. I watched X-Files, but not religiously. And I fell off at some point. Like I know, like there was a movie.
Yep.
Like I was gone at that point. I wasn't on board anymore.
I was still on board.
That's good.
The smoking man, favorite character.
Nice.
You're making me think I got to pick it back up again, because I watched it like passingly, but I never really dug in. So.
No, I feel like it's good to go back and just watch you watch the pilot episode of anything that you watched, and then go back to the next episode and you get to see immediately what they changed. It was like pilot, they screened it. Someone said that hair is wrong. Those shoes are wrong. And then the character completely does a 180.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like it's the, who did I do to Kira Nerys, that terrible hair she had on episode 1 of Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
And then she came back with like a lesbian haircut.
Or if you're Deanna Troi, you have terrible hair and it gets worse.
And it gets worse.
At least she dropped the cheerleader outfit, the scant mini skirt.
Meanwhile, your husband is making me a scant. He promised that when he visited.
He did?
Yes, I'll be wearing a scant
happen.
to the next Star Trek convention that I don't have tickets to.
You can rock a scant.
I feel like I can.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about shipping Star Wars characters, and we each have a few that we think are fun or that would work. And then we're just kind of round robin and go around and talk about them and take turns and cut in line and go in a particular order. Does that sound like fun?
It does. If we were talking about Star Wars, but we're talking about Star Trek, Mr. Mike Jones.
Did I say Star Wars?
He did? God. I didn't even hear it. Oh my God.
No. It's because I'm in a different room of the house. Everything is wrong.
Oh my God, you have the wrong. Where are your Mirror Universe Christmas ornaments to keep you on track?
I know. There's not a shelf of starships here for me to look at.
Goodness.
So I'm going to start out talking about. Well, first of all, another bit of education. Not education. Well,
Please,
whatever. It's education.
Education.
So there's this other term called slash fiction, which goes back to at least the 70s when Kirk / Spock fiction was being written and drawn. So it is usually used to denote a same-sex relationship. And when I find that when I was watching Star Trek as a young closeted homosexual, the relationships that I saw, that whether the writers put them there or not, were often two guys who were written to be good friends, but I wanted there to be more because I wanted to see that relationship,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm going to start out with Geordi Data.
Really?
Bold choice. Bold choice.
I like Watson and Sherlock, like
Mm,
they're bosom buddies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then oh my god, third season of Picard, when Geordi like talks about their friendship
Mhm.
and like what it meant to lose him.
Mhm.
I was like, this, I mean, granted, you can have platonic love, but like it, like in my mind, like they would be an amazing couple.
Well, and it kind of takes me back to being that, a middle schooler when I was first watching all of this, and how, like, boy, wouldn't you have wanted a Data as a best friend?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
And so that relationship always sort of inspired some envy in me, because Geordi got to be Data's best friend.
sure.
Granted, I wasn't quite as gay with it, so it never, I don't think I was just jerking out pictures of Marky Mark instead, like basic stuff. But
Yeah. It didn't
Marky
curl all the
Mark.
way over for you. Well, I mean, hello. Yes, indeed, Marky Mark. No,
those Joe Boxer ads.
whew. Here's the yes, I can see that, but it was just I loved how they were just super good friends. I mean, they were friends of friends of friends of friends. And the fact that Geordi was always willing to teach Data, to have like little learning moments, but it was never condescending. It was always like, Data, here's what you're missing, right? Like the fun of it is figuring it out, like the whole beginning of them going into the Hollow Suite and doing those different type of adventures. Those bosom buddies is the greatest way to explain them. But yeah, I could see that budding into a romantic relationship because they work so well
why
together.
not?
Yeah, why not?
And Data, I recently read where someone said that Data is asexual. But
asexual?
Yeah, which
That's
I don't
not
really
right. Oh, okay.
I don't believe that.
But he's fully functional.
Well, yes, he is. And we learned that early, and I didn't like it.
We do. Oh, and you didn't like it?
No, I didn't like it because I didn't like her.
Oh my God, hot take. Hot take.
Hot take.
Yep.
I mean,
Listen,
we have to address that.
I know.
I know you can't put that out there and leave it alone.
No, I know. Listen, like Tasha Yar, yay, great, wonderful. They shouldn't have asked her the way they did, whatever. But it's just like, okay, so everybody's high off of whatever they're high off of, and it's like Data's the person, the humanoid, the android, this like Data of all of the other folks on the ship. Data's the one. Nah.
Well, listen. If you're Dr. Noonien soon and you're creating an android in your image,
oh sure.
If there's an area that you're going to enhance,
of course,
right.
Because men.
Yes, because men.
Because men.
Because men.
You're right.
Because men.
I mean, I was
That's
happy
amazing.
I was happy to, not happy to. I was very interested that it was interesting to learn that Data was fully functional. But then the fact that it was like, this never happened, right? It wasn't I think it was the way it sort of played out. I was like, oh, that's trashy. Like don't do that.
Yeah, it was uncool of her to be like, that never happened, right?
Yes.
But also, I mean, on up through Picard, it happened and it was important to him. And
it
we
was
see
important
it again to great effect in Measure of a Man. And we see it again in I won't remember the episode name, but in Picard, when he's like battling Lore.
And I mean, he's getting rid of all of those memories. Like it was a pivotal moment in his development, right?
Absolutely.
In his journey. And it made me mad for Data, right? It was like, if that was my brother or that was like my best friend, I'd be like, F her. Don't worry. No, she wasn't worth it. You don't need to fret about her. You'll find somebody better.
Amazing. Yeah, I often hear them being like shipped together because of that. And it's just that one. I mean, yeah, it's more than just that one moment, but to her, it was not a relationship. And to him, it was, I think, an important milestone in his journey to becoming more human.
Mm-hmm.
He has that one episode relationship later with a red shirt who like a person of the day, or
Right.
of the
Yeah.
episode. I don't remember her name.
Because he was the person of the
'Cause she
episode.
was the person of the
The
episode,
episode
right?
is called In Theory.
In theory,
Hmm.
but they did not address any fully functionality or anything in that episode. So I think that Yar is a special memory for him. So I'm going to chalk that up as to an anti-ship. That's one anti, like, we don't like that ship.
Yep.
Data and Yar is your anti-ship. Okay.
Sure is.
All right, Damien, I think it's your turn.
I sort of arranged mine in my head in descending order of obviousness. So my first shipping is actually kind of obvious, and I don't think maybe this doesn't even count because it's so obvious. But to me, Riker and Troy, they built these two characters who were in love. Not only were they in love, but it's such a deep connection that she was able to teach him Betazoid telepathy. We see that in the very first episode where she's like, "Can you still hear my thoughts the way I taught you?" Right? And
good impression, right?
No, it's not. No. But it literally never comes back, right? Because they had but they put it in there. They put it in there in canon, and did they not come back to that in Picard, where she could hear him talking to her?
Yeah.
Like, they have that mental connection. And to the extent that she can like adjust his emotions and his grief and all of this stuff in the future, in the more current parts of the story. But early on, they had no character-based reason to keep those two apart. Like, you compare it to like Picard and Beverly.
Yeah.
Fraught. Totally fraught, right? Like, he was responsible for the death of her husband. He's bad with kids, and he sort of has mishandled Wesley at various times. Like, there's all kinds of, he's like too bound to duty. There's all of these like character reasons for keeping them apart, but they never give us a good reason to keep Riker and Troy apart. And the chemistry between those two actors was visible and evident, like from day one. They obviously genuinely love each other. Maybe not romantically, but like they genuinely love each other. You can tell. And the only reasons to keep them apart were because they wanted to give him Kirk-style romances of the week, and occasionally some weird ones for her too.
Right.
And so that when they finally get together in Insurrection, right, there's actually no real good story reason for that to happen, right? And when it does either. But like, we kind of accept it because it's like so like genuinely built in that Riker and Troy should be together, so that when they're like married later, like all of a sudden, like, we've never seen them as like a couple really in Star Trek, apart from like we go to their wedding. And then it's not until Picard that we see them as like a married couple.
Yeah.
And it just makes sense. Like, it makes perfect sense. And in a way that, like, okay, maybe it wouldn't have been good for stories to have a married couple on the crew all along, but that's what they did. Like, they made these characters that fit well together, and they never put them together for no reason.
Well, and in doing so, they made the fandom ship these characters for years and years and years, you know?
Do you think so? Do you think that?
I always thought of them as being a couple, and was always a little weirded out when one of them had a romance of the week. Not that, you know, I mean, obviously they're not monogamous or whatever, but they had something throughout. Even in All Good Things, when in the weird future, because at that point Troy is with Worf, which is, you know, its own thing. But then, you know,
I see an anti-ship on Lenita's face.
In that possible future.
This is what we're gonna do. You guys are gonna do ships, and I'm just gonna go plow through.
You just assassinate all of them that we put out there.
I love it. But yeah, but you know, Riker and Worf are fighting over, you know, of what had happened to her in that alternate future. So yeah, I like that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely like that one. And what's interesting is how you say, you know, they're together, not together. It's like they built a little foundation of like connection.
Mm.
And then it was like, okay, I feel like everybody always had duty to the missions, to the ship, to the crew. That was always top of mind. Like Picard, that was it, right? So we knew there was going to be no real romance, no real relationships. But I think
Right.
that of the original like 7 standard crew members that we got to know and love, that was always top of mind. So that's why there weren't these deep relationships with other people. They could be with each other, but then it was sort of like, no, we can't focus on each other. We have to focus on the missions and exploring. So
Right.
I was always okay with them not like being together, but yes, it's true. I did not get down with like when they were with other folks. It was like, okay. It was
Yeah.
like we're in a long-term relationship, off on, and when we're off, you can do your balances, but you're always going to come back home. That's how it always felt. Like them together was
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
and they were able to go out and grow and
Yeah.
be better.
Are
And
they
then
an early template for an open relationship?
absolutely.
Yeah, I think
Hello.
so.
Oh,
When we talked about queer representation,
the outcasts.
the outcast, like he
Mm.
came and sat on this Betazoid couch and said, I have
Oh.
these feelings for someone. And yeah, okay, great, explore it. Excuse me?
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Like, yes, they're friends, but they still have like love for each other. And I think she wanted him to be happy, but deep down, she knew not going to be happy with anybody but me.
You know, it's interesting though too, because we learned later that, you know, after Nemesis, he's the captain of the Titan, right? Which we see in
Mhm.
Lower Decks. And she is right there by his side, his wife and counselor. And we learn later in Picard that the kid was raised on the Titan. We get that sense, right? So that they
Right,
were
yeah.
like a full-on family unit going on dangerous missions on that
Yeah.
ship.
And they were able to do that because they like forged a path to be like, okay, we can work together. We're good now. Let's like together into the world.
And she's like, you want to go have your queer moment with your non-binary alien? Okay, you go.
Okay.
See how that works out for you.
Exactly. Exactly. I love them. I love them so
That's
much.
they're the best. Shall
I
I
guess
go
I-
again?
Yeah, well, I guess do I have to can I do it?
Oh, you could do a real one.
A real one. A real one versus me being like, it's terrible.
She's just the firing
Yes.
squad.
No. So I'm going with who actually is in a relationship or a ship that I don't. Yes, they're in a ship together. So, Discovery,
Okay.
Book, and Burnham.
Oh. Hmm.
I thought you were going to steal mine from Discovery and you didn't, so I'm glad, but I support yours.
Thank you. I loved seeing 2 strong Black characters
Mm.
who were fully realized from 2 different worlds, right? 2 different species, because I can't remember what exactly, but the way that they talk to the Earth and or
Right.
the planets and all of that, that his character teaching her and her accepting him and him accepting her strength and being vulnerable and weak and watching that relationship grow, for me, I was just like, this is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And I
Yeah.
like the way that they trusted each other, that they had shorthand, that there was, it just felt real to me, that the friction, the conflict, but also like that yearning for each other. It reminds me like in Bridgerton, like burning for someone. Like it was always right there under the surface that sort of informed all of their interactions.
Yeah.
And then when we finally got it, I was like, yes.
Well, and it's beautiful too because she arrives in this future and he takes her into his world.
Mm.
Yes.
And she is an outsider and he like acclimates her and makes her feel at home. And then until her world arrives and it flips the dynamic entirely. He's the outsider.
Right.
He brings him into her world and they have, and she can do that because she's earned that trust. And it's also, we can't not talk about the cat.
The cat is the best part. The cat is literally the best part because cats know
Yes. Oh yeah.
You know that I was Googling where can I buy one of those coon cats for my home. Sorry,
They're-
wherever she is.
Listen, no. You Maine Coon, they're so large. Like
They're
are
big cats.
They are so large and so much hair. Like they're beautiful, but they're massive. They're like some of them are larger than dogs, like small, medium-sized dogs. I know you're a massive man, so you can handle it.
I'm big.
Big.
Bruh.
It's a lot of shedding.
It's a lot, exactly. No, but I love the fact that he had a cat like that.
Yeah.
It because people typically think of cat people as like spinster old women.
Nope.
Like
Yeah, no.
That is a
He's
badass cat.
he's a
Yeah.
badass cat, and Book is a badass dude. Like, yep. Here's my side.
And also it's this great like little element of, I don't want to say it's not quite conflict, but it almost is, where like he has this relationship with this cat that like
correct.
If she ever and we saw it happen, like when it kind of goes south. Wait, no, because he gives her the cat when he leaves, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's like do you pick the cat over me? And he's like, no, I'm giving you oh God, no. It's beautiful.
See?
It's beautiful. I support your choice.
When he first appeared, my fear was that he would be sort of an accessory to her, but he's not. He's a fully developed character, and meets her, meets her energy.
Meets her where she
right.
is and takes her to where she needs to be. Like, they meet each other where they are, and there's so much understanding. Like, I'm telling you, the writing, these newer series and the writing with which they are taking character development very seriously and giving us 360 degrees of a character backstory for days.
Yeah.
Well, and also it's that he can match her in a way that is not Starfleet.
Correct.
That is not like some kind of Star Trek trope that we have encountered already. Like he is his own entity. He has his own mission that is noble in its own way. That does not care for the Federation or Star Trek.
Fresh perspective.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a good one.
That's my one.
That's your one.
No, it's my first one.
Good. Okay, I'm going to go classic with this one. I've already actually no, I did not mention them. But I'm going to go Kirk Spock.
Oh.
I mean, to me, it's almost less about what you see on screen and more about what exists in like the culture and the fan fiction and artwork. And there's so much like little cute chibi drawings of like little Kirk and little Spock, and they're holding hands and Spock is blushing green. You know what I mean? There's something really really nice about those two characters. And in the reboot, the J.J. Abrams Kelvin timeline, they have a lot more conflict, but you can see that underneath it, they have a bond already, even though they haven't been together very long, that I think lends itself to shipping them.
Well, and it's also the classic example of each of them is so strongly endowed with what the other lacks.
Right. It's the way they're written.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy together make a fully formed human being.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I was listening to some other like Star Trek podcast like a long time ago, and they talked about how they were like the ego, the id, and what's the third thing we have?
Super ego.
Thank you, super ego. How each of them, that is their main focus, or like how they're played, so that the three of them together are a fully formed human.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it might be
Spock and Kirk.
Kirk Spock.
Okay. I mean,
I mean,
I-
and it's Star Trek 2 when he's dying and Kirk runs down there.
okay,
and
okay.
I have been and always shall be your friend. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
right there.
It is right there. It is
Yeah.
right there. But do we think that Spock's just a little too intellectually savvy
For
for that
Kirk.
for that relationship to really work? I mean, not saying that Kirk's a dummy, but Spock is going to talk about
That he's going to be understimulated.
yeah.
Sure. I could see
Listen,
that.
I know. And listen, I know I'm going rational here. We're not. I jumped into logical. But I'm just like,
Well, we were talking about Spock. It makes sense.
it's just thinking of him and just the gravitas with which he presents himself and speaks about things and to other people and just what he knows and what he's interested in. And Kirk's like, that tail looks good. Let's go,
Sure.
chase a tribble. I don't know,
I think that Kirk appeals to his human side, and some of that is a bit of a mask that he's putting forward. And underneath, like, Kirk is getting to that like Spock that no one gets to see.
that his mother knows.
That his mother knows. A mother knows.
Your mother knows.
Well, also, I mean, and if you'll permit me to do like a little psychoanalysis of like maybe like a teenage Mike. Like, come on, if you are no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a psychoanalysis of teenage myself and see if Mike appreciates and identifies. When you're like that age, when you're like a teenage gay boy, there's nothing that you want more than like a best friend. And a best friend maybe you can like go skinny dipping with. There's some lightly naughty things happen. So that what better best friend relationship is there than Kirk and Spock?
Right. Yeah.
So of course it is like a natural like extension of that to like fantasize about.
So it's the captain of the football team being best friends with the captain of the chess club.
Oh, that's a good way to think of that.
That's it. Yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking of it.
It's fully Heartstopper.
Yeah.
I approve.
Gavel.
And that one didn't inspire a
scoff. No, it didn't inspire a scoff of no. Listen, you explained it well to me because I like, they say quote unquote opposites attract. Like yes and no. Like you have to have a base of something. And technically they do have a base. A love of, travel and discovery and learning about new culture. So that, there's pillow talk to be had.
Right. Pillow talk. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Damien.
Is it my turn? Is it my turn? All right. So I'm going to preface this by saying that, like, I realize that I'm not generally a shipper, and that, like, I like that so many of these have it living below the surface, and so this one is not. I actually do not want these people to fully get together, but I'm just here to point out that it is massively there, and it is amazing, and that is going to be Bashir and Garak.
Oh yes.
Are you mad? Did I take yours?
Yeah.
No.
No. It's okay. Listen, I have many things. The ice maker is making ice.
She's like, I have backups.
I do. I have.
The Iceman cometh.
But yeah, no, I like that.
Do you actually want them to be a couple, or do you just love the like layered in sexual? I mean, also it's like that Garak is like, I don't know that Bashir reciprocates these feelings, but he is so tantalized by the spy aspect of it.
Yes.
And Garak is so clearly a sexual predator in his direction. He so clearly knows that the
predator. He's just he is attracted to Bashir and is not afraid to be extra in his glances and his words to express the ways in which he would like to turn him asunder.
Asunder. Oh,
Ooh.
I'm not sure that I know what that means in this context, but it can only be filthy. Um, um, yes, okay. I don't know that he's a predator, and granted, you have to understand that I'm not maybe meaning predator in like a bad way.
Right.
Understood.
But that like
Predator
it's just like
in like the cruising the bar kind of way, predator.
well, also it's kind of like I know that you cannot help yourself from engaging with me, so I'm going to take liberties.
Yes.
And whether those liberties are just sort of with a tone that makes him visibly uncomfortable, and which is delicious to watch.
It's delightful.
It is delightful and delicious.
He makes him squirm.
And hot take, and I'm gonna say, and this is this may cause me some scorn. I think Bashir is one of the best characters in Star Trek. I think that he is one of the few characters who was blatantly unlikable from the beginning, with the by design goal of turning him into a formidable person. So that by the time that series ended, Bashir was, I mean, we covered it in our Section 31 episode, where like Bashir outsmarted, he abducted the Section 31 agent and used the information in his brain to end the Dominion War.
Right.
Like he had the guile that he grew guile over the course of the 7 years, and he did it through, in large part, his bromance
with
Garak,
who taught him everything he needed to know.
Which
absolutely,
in many ways, was a creepy mirror of Garak's own relationship with his father and Nabran Tain.
Wow.
I don't know that I believe that. That was another hot take.
We're just throwing hot takes out there.
We're just throwing it. Who knows? There's literally no one is fact checking us right now.
Put it in the comments. Tell us where we're wrong.
That's amazing.
I know I had them down because truly that relationship, that is one of the relationships that thread through the entire series of Garak being like, "Hello, doctor." And the minute you heard you're like, well, let's see what he's going to say now. Let's see where this is going to go. And always not knowing what part of what he's telling him is the truth. Right? Garak always having like this air of suspicion, being like, of course I'm telling you the truth. But are you?
All of the best liars start with a kernel of truth.
Yes. I love the that's great. Yay, I approve.
I love that we both thought of that. We're so smart, both of us.
We're both so smart. So smart.
It's funny. I love Damien. Yours are so far seem to be very supported by the actors who play those roles.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I know Troy and Riker, but I didn't know that was supported by
supposedly Andrew Robinson has said that, because he didn't have any idea when he was first a guest actor in that. I mean, he was in the first regular, when Kira gets her good haircut, right? That first regular episode after the pilot.
Exactly.
And all he had was this scene that he knew that he had, and he read it and he was like, I'm going to play this like I am in lust with this young man. And that kind of colored everything from there.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like that got him a recurring role.
Choices. Yeah. He made good choices.
Yes.
Strong choices. Good choices, but strong choices. He'd had a hot take.
That's something you can say after your friend's show and it was terrible. Did you like it? Oh, strong choices.
Yes. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Made some choices. That's what you do when you see a child that's not as attractive. Oh, what a baby!
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and I guess it's me. I guess I have to give a good one since I've been on the negative train. Ooh, okay. I don't even know. I don't know why I think this, but I just do, and I don't know why I'm on Discovery for some reason, but I am. Ditmer and Tig Notaro.
Oh,
We almost had.
Side mention the other one who shares the panel on the other side.
Oshikan.
Thank
That
you.
was my
That
next
is-
one was Detmer and
that-
Owo, but yes.
Detmer and Owo.
Because when I was doing a little research about these ships, like there's the het, there's the gay, there's the les, there's the the triads, the multiples. So in a world, the three of them somehow they have dated, but in whatever way it could possibly be, the energy, the intelligence, the strength that all three of those characters exude in each of their roles. And Tig is just funny. And I think that humor, that dry humor, would really calm Detmer down because she's a little, little wackadoo.
A little high strung.
Yeah, she's a little
high strung. She needs someone to stroke her back. It's okay, baby. It's okay.
Right.
Well, I want to say that Detmer and Owo was my third one.
Oh.
Because I'm shipping Tig Notaro with myself. I mean, we'd get nothing for myself.
Oh my God.
Fair enough.
We'd explore our intimate lives elsewhere, but I would just love to hang out with her all the time. But
That's
the
amazing.
Detmer and Owo, I mean, like those two actors clearly have made some kind of decision from very early on.
Correct.
That they are deeply connected in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Correct. And that showed itself in that dinner. When they all had the dinner around the table, she invited them all, and Ditmer was like spiraling into
Oh, right.
And Odo was like, just keep it together. They really do. They have to think about the stations that they occupy on the bridge.
Rely on each other
together in tandem.
Yeah.
You have to be able to anticipate what the other is going to do.
Have they? I know that shipping has nothing to do with what is written necessarily. Not nothing, but have they said? Have either of them had any backstory about relationships or?
Nope. And that's why it's so much fun.
Except that we knew that Adira has a huge crush on Detmer. We saw that episode, which I thought was adorable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Adorable. Because I kind of have a crush on Detmer also. Detmer is like weirdly high strung and angsty and like badass.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And I think also it's kind of a frequent criticism of Discovery that they say that they have this, that I think they say an underdeveloped bridge crew. But I think it just is a choice that the bridge crew is not your main characters so much, right? Your top tier, like your Burnham and, et cetera, like the whole rest of the more.
Right. Saru and.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. Suddenly I'm like drawing blank on characters. But but that the bridge crew is like not so much background, but they're just like a deeper layer under the surface so that you see all of these people who are a step above like extras, but they're like they have their characters, but we just get sort of little smaller windows into them, and they are like create this whole community, they create a world, and you get these little moments but like it just is a different way to structure it that not every bridge character has to be your main character. It's like these like secondary characters that create a sense of atmosphere and family, and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think of I'm blanking on the character's name, but the character that was cybernetic. There was the episode Ariam went into her backstory, and it really was amazing. And I was like, we're finally getting to know about these people. They kill her off. Like it was all just a setup, an emotionally manipulative setup.
Producers producing. No, but here's the thing is that yes, and I feel like they give us enough information along the way of these secondary characters to help us understand why they are the way they are and who and what has shaped them. not in a huge like brain dump of all of the information, but they're put in situations where you get the little flashback or you get the, explanation, but just in a conversation, it's not so heavy-handed.
I mean, also,
I
I feel like there's a strong possibility because I feel like we're getting a Starfleet Academy as a Discovery spinoff that you could get maybe Detmer as their flight instructor.
Absolutely.
There could be any number of futures for these smaller characters to get a larger role.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Okay.
I think it's Mike now.
Is it my turn?
Is.
Okay, so this one,
Are we still on good?
it's kind of my last one. So maybe this is a transition because I go back and forth with how I feel about this particular shipping. A lot of people are very pro it, maybe for, I think, not the best reasons. Sometimes okay, I'm just gonna say it. It's Janeway 7 of 9.
No, Janeway with nobody.
And I'm watching. The thing is, I want to be like, no, that's just some gross straight men having lesbian fantasies. But then watching the show, there are moments when you can see how much, and it's just how good of an actor I think Kate Mulgrew is, but she really cares about Seven in a way that I think makes me go, okay, maybe there's something, maybe I could see it. But then I go back and forth.
Don't
what
go
do you
back
guys
and
think?
forth. It's a no.
You're like, it's a no.
It's a
It's
no.
it's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
Randy Jackson.
Thanks, Randy.
Bring our Randy Jackson tribute, please. I have a weakness for that.
The relationship between Janeway and 7 of 9 was, and will always be Janeway wanting 7 to be the best person she can be and mentoring her with love and friendship and showing her that no matter what your circumstance, no matter what happened to you, no matter the board, no matter any of that, you can be exactly who you want to be. And here are the ways I can help you. There was never any like side eye or lusty, like it just,
it's almost maternal.
It is maternal.
Yeah.
It's very maternal, yeah.
It truly is. And do you remember when the group of other Borg kids came on board and they built the whole holosuite with the Spencer little touch screens, which I always loved, that was the plate behind them that showed that they were being plugged in and charging.
Yeah.
Going into Spencer and being like,
right from Spencer's.
From Spencer's. That took me far too long. What the hell is she talking about, Spencer? Okay.
Hello, it was the greatest store
my
ever.
God. Anyone who was not at a mall in the 90s is losing this.
they have no idea what we're talking about. They're like, she's mad. Like,
She's
no,
mad.
it was, you had to be there. When 7 of 9 took such an interest in those kids and like showing them the ways in which she had been met, like, and then
she was Janewaying them.
She was Janewaying them.
Yeah, you're right. And then in Picard, she calls Icham her son. Icheb.
Yes, Icheb.
Yeah, a recast Icheb. Anyway,
well, you know that the original Icheb was a creep. He was massively creepy on 7 of 9, and he has said all sorts of creepy things about her ever since. So makes perfect sense.
That is creepy. Yeah, I knew he was sort of canceled, probably for not bad reasons. So yeah, I guess that's my first negative then.
I actually am gonna sort of like piggyback off that and say that I actually am opposed to all 7 of 9 Voyager shipping because and making the distinction between Voyager 7 of 9 and Picard 7 of 9.
Okay.
Because I think that and particularly I was going to say Chakotay and 7 of 9 was particularly cringeworthy to me.
Tomato.
And not because I'm gonna hate on Chakotay. He's not my favorite character, but but because I just don't feel like it was a little bit of like the Data and Tasha Yar. Like Data was not really human enough to be doing that. And
Mhm.
Seven of Nine, especially now that we go back to Voyager after having seen who she is now, you're like, oh, she was not really very human.
Right.
No.
It was not really human enough to be in a relationship with that. Like she needed, now that we know her, and part of this is, I think, is retroactive after seeing her with Rafi,
Yeah.
Of course.
right? Where, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that she needed to end up with Rafi. I kind of like them as like weird, like lightly awkward exes,
Yep.
but they were on par in terms of gravitas. And there was no one in terms of human gravitas, right?
One was in a
And
power position of more human than the other.
let me teach you about humanity. Like even in the 7th season of Voyager, with her, whatever they were trying to do with her and Chakotay, like it still had that layer of like she was still a student of
Yeah.
whoever was teaching her. Like the only one who she didn't have that relationship with was Naomi Wildman, right? Also
Sure.
inappropriate, right? Like not really.
Also inappropriate, if you really want to know.
Right? Like it was, she was just
Yeah.
not a good character for it. She's an amazing character, but not like whatever romance that they gave her had to be very specific and was not going to be
Yeah.
coming from any other member of the crew without it feeling uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah.
And
I think sometimes they hinted at a Doctor Seven relationship, and yeah, it's not a good
also
idea.
uncomfortable.
Also very uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. No, thank you. It's
Yeah.
opportunistic is really why it's uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Like
it's trying to
that-
give romance to the sex pot, you know, like she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not even, okay, yes, sex pot, like in the real world, but just
Right.
opportunistic that she was immature in
Yeah.
her humanity. Data,
Like
immature in his humanity.
Yeah.
That's another reason why the Tasha Yar. No, like
Like
it's
an
opportunistic.
innocence,
Mhm.
a naivety that
Correct.
is being taken advantage of.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was a way around that with her in where she was on that journey. Like, and I
No.
think and the fact that she like went off and became a ranger and all of these other things that were like outside of the mold of what anyone wanted her to do, like brought her back in this new kind of badass role where now we see her kind of as an adult.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm going to piggyback off of that, Janeway with anyone. Thank you very much. I am against all captains having relationships. They need to focus on their jobs. They can have dilly-dallies and occasional situationships, but no long-term marital anything. If you are the captain of
How about her
Starfleet.
hollow romance?
I was like, not even.
Blech. No, that is creepy. That whole, like, that's just weird.
What's she
Yeah.
supposed to do though?
Get a rabbit. I don't know, but
Get a rabbit.
Rabbits.
get
Not
the
even
newfangled
the like
rose.
Irish hologram.
Okay. Okay, I mean, okay, if there's going to be something, because yes, they are beings, but like think about it. Like Picard was, yes, he was a quote unquote sexual being, but he really was sort of like asexual. Like he wasn't really like going for the ladies, going for anyone. It wasn't.
He needed himself like an archaeologist grave looter.
Correct. It was not
Right.
like Kirk, who was like, "Where are we? Who can I? Okay, great, let's go. New ladies, new aliens to woo." Even with Cisco, like he had a wife, and look what happened. And then it's like, focus on your job, buddy boy. That's what you need to do.
Right.
Janeway, they just never gave.
Didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He did have Cassidy Yates for a little. That was later on, right? Okay, I can get down with that. But like, I don't think they gave Janeway anybody real. Like there wasn't, and nothing was like grounded in like who we knew her to be and who she would date.
Yeah. Well, because even her fiance back on Earth, Mark, is obviously gone. He's only in the pilot. And they reference him a few times, but I don't know if that was just to keep her single or what. But I understand the writers had some thoughts of her and Tom Paris, which I think would be a terrible idea.
He's a Lothario. No. I do like Tom Paris though, but no.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible idea. Yeah, I can't really see Janeway with anybody.
Because she and here's what I'm going to say, because they never wrote a character strong enough to not be intimidated by her, right?
Yes.
When we think about women in power, it's always intimidation. So that is why they're not in a relationship, because if they are heterosexual, men are not going to be able to deal with the fact that they are strong, they are in command, and they can do what they need to do without you, but they want you to be there, right? So there was never a character who was written was like, yes, I'm also the captain of a starship, or, I am the head of, I don't know, planetary function 725, and I'm okay with seeing you every 6 months.
Do you feel like that is a flaw in the show, though, that that having a woman captain,
yep,
that there is no that they can't, that no one can view her as a romantic individual or as a sexual being on account of she can't be all of those things at once?
Yes, because they expect you to either be a Madonna or a whore. There's a woman is never allowed to be complex. And when they are complex, they're removing one thing that would make them a whole being. That's why I think I'm so impressed with the newer seasons and newer iterations of Star Trek, because they are writing, I'm not going to call them wrongs, but just like realizing that just as a Kirk or a Picard can be strong and have people want them romantically, a woman can be that too. Burnham is that. Like, there's no intimidation with Book or with
right.
The other one, Hair. He looked Persian. What is his name?
Ash Tyler.
Yes,
Ash Tyler. Oh yeah. And it's interesting because they were smart the way that they built the character of Book as being sort of outside of the power structure of her world,
right?
So that so they didn't have to deal with all of those issues.
I think there was potential for Chakotay to fill that role, but they made him her first officer, so he's immediately
a subordinate.
Yeah. If I mean this, I think a lot of mistakes were made with Voyager and the whole Maquis plot, because it was kind of dropped pretty quickly, and they just absorbed them. It would have been interesting if he had stayed at sort of a captain level, both on the ship or whatever, you know what I mean? But they didn't do that. And then, there's a couple episodes like with the one where they get stranded on a planet and there's a monkey and he's going to make her a bathtub. And, like they hint at like a romance. But
sounds like a writer's room pitch.
Right?
Yeah, leave it in.
But it never works. It never works.
I mean, I want Janeway to find love, but it's unlikely. Maybe
and at the very least they could have explored that dilemma of hers in a, I mean, and I guess that was kind of what they were going for in their like hollow world Irish
sure
thing.
Even Da Vinci, she
because
disappears into this Da Vinci world.
I kind of forgot about that part.
He shows up in Lower Decks. But who doesn't?
I love Lower Decks. So good. Okay, so no, it's back to you, Mike, because we
Is
literally because both Damien and I tapped on you and went all the way back around.
We sure did.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a nobody with. I don't think that. Well,
Go ahead, say what you
I
say.
don't think that the every time they tried to make the Doctor on Voyager connect with someone, it was creepy. Every time. Like his relationship with Kes as a mentor, fine, but then sometimes it seemed weird. His relationship with Seven seemed weird. His holographic wife was like not a real human being. You know.
Okay, but you know what I did love in the final episode, in the alternate future, where he shows up with this like hot young girl, and then I think it's Janeway is like, "Oh, is she a hologram too?" And he's like, "How could you ask that in this day and age?" I'm like, it made no sense, but was brilliant at the same time. Yeah,
right. It's like, okay, great.
Right, sir. Like they wanted to give love to the hologram, but not to the flesh and blood of the crew. Like, okay, let him just let him disappear into the world. Let him live in his hollow suites. Like, come on.
I also was not mad about him being a little cringe sometimes. You know, it just made sense to me that he was like, "Oh, there he goes again." Oh,
sure.
You know, like it felt kind of true.
Yes, because he's not human. Like think about it as it's like he is a more rudimentary form than Data, right? Like Data had like AI in a way to be able to learn, and yes, the Doctor, but not in the same way. Like because he never had form. Yeah, he was never truly a part of all of them all of the time. Like he could be summoned at will. You know, until he got his little bibbity badge, he was only in the little EMR. I can go anywhere. Like he was locked in the medical unit. Like you could just put him away. Like you couldn't do that with Data. So he never could fully mature into, I guess, a full character, as it were.
Yeah, it was creepy.
Very. It just was. No, it just was. Yeah, so
are there any couples that on our lists that we've missed?
Odo and Kira. Blech.
Oh,
I mean, I kind of agreed a little. I actually have mixed feelings on this because I've actually been oddly rewatching the last season of Deep Space Nine kind of backwards. Because it's like kind of good on the train. And I also was kind backwards. I don't know why, it's just by accident. It's not that bad. It's not some grand plan. Just how it downloads. That I was also kind of cringe about Odo and Kira, but there's this terrific dynamic where he's got like the founder's illness and he doesn't want her to know and swears Garrick to secrecy, and then Garrick tells her anyway, and she's like, "Oh, Garrick, I know he's sick. Don't you think I can tell the difference? He doesn't want me to know, so I'm pretending like I don't know." Like that kind of like dynamic, like I found that to be like sweet and beautiful, and like, oh, they really do know each other, and he just wants her respect. That's all he wants. Like it's not super sexual. He just thinks she's great and wants her to think that he's great, you know?
No, he wanted to jump her bones, and it was creepy. And no. And it's just because Odo's not good with faces. I could never get over the founders' faces. They just creep me out. And the way in which Garrett sort of leers at Bashir is the way in which like Odo is always sort of under the surface, sort of like oozing for Kira. Like that episode, the one where they're stuck in the cave.
Yes.
They're stuck in the cave and the founder is pretending to be Kira, like being sucked up by the rockety rocks and saying like, "Oh yes, of course I love you." And he being like, "Ha, lies, you don't. Not the Kira I know." Because he knows that it's always going to be unrequited. Like she doesn't see him that way. Yes, she knows him. Yes, she knows
Right.
he's sick, but no.
No, and I think I know, and I do. As much as I was like, I was momentarily wooed by a single episode. I think you're right. I think that the like beauty of the unrequited, and that like she does actually really love him, but not in that way.
Not in that
And
Yeah.
way.
and I think that is sometimes. I mean, it's kind of a classic example of shipping where people watched. It is a dynamic that developed organically in that they could see the way these actors were around each other and the way that
Right.
it kind of the chemistry that happened, and then they sort of leaned too overtly into it.
Like wrote to it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to add one really quick because
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like we're winding down. Picard and Laris.
Hmm.
And then Mike just went totally blank. I just watched Mike's face. It went totally blank.
Well, no, I was like, but
I was
they-
like, I
You
lost
saw
the
all
room.
of it
I
go.
just
I
lost the
lost
room
the
with
room.
Mike.
It was like,
I was like, but they are a couple. Like, I don't.
Sort of like
I'm still mad that he like doesn't go back to her at the end of the third season.
I think that's
that she's
exactly
not
what it
like,
is. I don't need to see that on screen, but I just want to think that there's still like that there's still that they, like I don't know that he's gonna ever like go back and play house with her and she's gonna
no,
like
he's not.
tend his grapes, but I just think that
that's
she
sad.
It is sad. It is sad. But here's the thing. Don't you think that I hate to be like her purpose, right? Like her purpose is to be who she is and live in this world. But for
As a
sake
character.
for sake of story and character, her purpose
was to open his heart.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
so that the real love that he needed to show someone, i.e., his son that he
Right.
didn't know about, was able to be there and for him to give of himself in a way that he never could have prior to that relationship that they had.
I will
So
say
some-
I'm glad that they didn't put Picard sort of back with Beverly. And in fact,
Absolutely.
I don't, if you watch Nemesis, the way the timeline works out, she got pregnant with Jack not long after Nemesis. And you watch Nemesis and it's like, I don't think these two are going to hook up. Like, what? Like, I just don't
She in
see
the movie?
them together. It's a bad movie, but there's
Hot take.
that.
Well, listen, I just, I sense a little bit of shame coming from the lower middle box on this Zoom on this particular shipping. But I just want to say some of us, are have a little sentimental attachment to the one that got away, the Romulan that got away. I don't know.
Yeah.
She didn't get away. He said goodbye.
Yes.
He said, thank you so much for coming. It was great having you here.
No, he didn't. He ghosted her. He's like,
Ta-ta
I'll
for
meet
now.
up with you on that planet. Bye. And then,
Right.
well, he did the same thing to that woman in the holodeck in the first season. They go back years later in Paris, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Why didn't you come?" It's classic Picard.
But Laris knows him and loves him enough to look at him and say, this is who you are, and this
Yeah.
is
You're
this
meant
is
for the
these-
stars.
that you're meant for the stars, and this is what this is painful to me, but it is also what I love about you, and it's
Mm.
emotionally complicated and moving to this particular audience member.
Oh,
And adult, and
well, that's good.
and she accepted him where he was.
Yeah.
I did like them together, but it's not. I honestly don't know that there's a world in which the captains that we have been presented on ships doing these things, like Deep Space Nine is its own, like you're stationary, you're living in a condo in the sky, right? Like you're permanently somewhere. But for the ones who are going out into the world of old, not New Trek,
Mhm.
the mission is the relationship.
Right.
The ship is the relationship. Like
Right.
Enterprise is Picard's most complicated and deep relationship.
Right.
That ship and the souls on it. And everything
Yeah.
else is a distraction. Like everybody else gets to do the thing. But he's got to focus, like Janeway had her little dilly dallies and
Right.
Focus. I don't know.
It's so heartbreaking. It's
It
so
is
sad.
heartbreaking.
It is.
But
Poor
but it's
lonely
reality.
Picard.
But he's
And-
had
and-
a life.
And Kirk is in love with the Enterprise. I mean, they
Mhm.
fully address that. It's I think ultimately what it comes down to is that Star Trek wasn't created for romantic characters.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it shows. But as audience members, sometimes we crave a little romance. So we look for it where we can.
Yes.
And then when they give it to us, sometimes we don't like it. So
We're fickle bunch. We're
It's true.
fickle bunch.
Well, and it's at its best when
it's
it's bittersweet. I mean, the episode where Picard has plays the flute with the lady who plays the piano.
Yeah.
Essence. I mean, it was a sweet and beautiful, lovely episode exploring all of these questions, and it ends with that sort of like bittersweet sadness. And
right.
his first love is his Enterprise and his family there.
Speaking of the flute, I mean, there's this trope of what things that happen in one episode that are rarely referenced later, but arguably the love of his life is his wife for 70 years on the flute planet. You know what I mean? Like they had children and grandchildren together.
That's true.
Like we can't just forget about that.
It would have been a valid choice for any of us to bring in as our ships.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Do over. Let's start over. Scrap all this.
We have to look up her name, whatever it is.
That'll keep me up if I don't Google it.
Is there any other ship that you were for or against on your list that we did not cover?
We covered all of mine.
The only one on my list that we didn't cover, and I don't know how I feel about it, is, and this is totally full disclosure, like 17-year-old Mike's,
Okay.
Tom Paris and Harry Kim. I was like, there's two young guys on this ship and they're not doing it. Come on.
I'd get down with it.
But now, I mean, looking at it now, like they're actually, they don't have that kind of chemistry. I mean, the two actors that have a podcast together, they have a very like bro-y,
but that's the thing. They are frat boy, right?
Yeah.
At a frat party, get drunk enough to be like, ooh, I wonder what it's like. Do it drunkenly, and then be like,
right,
and go back to being.
Or what do? They date fucking twins.
Right.
That is like that's a little that is actually very sexually confused frat boy. Very.
Yes. Identical twins. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah, I tried to be good and not go into the terrible ones of like Neelix and Kess and like bleh.
Oh yes. Someone thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, no, that was I mean, it's the way they're introduced, but like it never worked.
Never worked. But I do think honorable mention for me as I was like Googling through the things is when Quark has to go marry the
Klingon,
and that whole like that
House of Quark,
that brief little relationship. I was like, I kind of like this, and I could see Quark being like, we know Ferengis or women are supposed to be naked somewhere, but there was something about him being married to a Klingon and seeing that, being like, I think I could get down with this. I enjoyed that ship for the single episode that it was.
That's funny. I love that episode.
Tiny Quark, giant Klingon woman. I am strong. It's like, she's gonna break you. It's gonna be great.
Maybe he'll like it. Maybe he's into that.
Give him some really rough umaks.
Right. Oh God. Comes out with pierced ears.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, dear listeners, thank you so much for sticking with this. If you have relationships that you would like that we missed, shipping couples that we missed, please shoot us a text. Not a text. Slip into our
Giving out your phone
DMs.
You don't have our numbers. Don't text me. I'll give you my number.
Like giving them out unbeknownst to us.
You can write. Look in the show notes. You can see everyone's personal cell phone numbers. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Hailing Freak Open and on hailingfrequenciesopen.com. And thank you guys. I ship the three of us.
Yes, I ship this podcast.
Yes.
Yay! Definitely.
Yay. All right. I guess I'll say hailing frequencies closed.